Now, now we get on to the dreaded moment every week these days, the content championship. This week, we've got Bad Batch versus the 90s Spider-Man cartoon. I know in my heart who's won this, but it doesn't make it not feel dirty. So let's get into it.
This is going to be interesting.
As always, the 6 categories are personal relevance, how well has it aged, rewatchability, story, acting, and cinematography. Oh, we really should come up with a better term for cinematography because it's not just cinematography, but visuals just doesn't hit the same cinematography. So I don't want to change it to a less.
Yeah, it just
cool word.
sounds good.
Yeah, that's all we care about. Just fucking how it sounds. Would you like to get us started?
Sure. Personal relevance. So, as a man of old, as an old man, by your words, I do remember watching the 90s Spider-Man cartoon on TV.
When it wasn't reruns.
When it wasn't reruns. I can't say I watched a whole lot of it on TV. Because it was it on Fox? What was it on?
Yeah, it was Fox Kids.
Yeah,
Fox Kids.
I didn't have Fox Kids. So like I've probably seen it at like
up in them north slums.
Well, more just played outside, didn't I, in the fields.
Oh yeah, of course.
But I do remember, and it's like it's one of those where it's like it's like a memory of like early nerdy cartoons and stuff. Bad Batch. I mean, it's Star Wars. I love Star Wars. It's still fairly new in the grand scheme of things. I do have a love for the clones after the whole Clone Wars animated. So like getting to see more stories about clones is always great. And Star Wars hits fondly for me.
100%.
So it's kind of hard because it's like, one, I didn't really watch much, but I do remember. And the other, I've watched all of it and I do love, but it's still quite new. It's kind of hard to pin one for personal relevance. I'd probably lean more Bad Batch just because I like Star Wars so much.
That's valid.
I don't know. I have a feeling I know how your personal relevance might fall.
Yeah. So Bad Batch, like I love Bad Batch, fucking brilliant. And it brought me back to the animated world of Star Wars in a big way. I hadn't finished Clone Wars when Bad Batch season 1 came out, but I watched Bad Batch season 1 and I was like, oh, I forgot how good this stuff is, and that got me back in to go back and finish Clone Wars. So like there's a lot of love for it there for giving me the nudge I need, because the way I work is I'll start watching something, then I'll get distracted, then I'll leave it, and I might never remember to go back to it.
Yeah.
So if you can redirect me, like if something grabs my attention, then redirects me back to something else that I then love, I have even more love for that thing.
Makes sense.
However, my first vivid memories of superheroes are rewatching the 90s Spider-Man cartoon at like 6-7 a.m. on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, even to the point of when we saw the Spot was the villain for Across the Spider-Verse, one of the first things I said was, I remember seeing the Spot in the old Spider-Man cartoon. Like, that's how deeply ingrained that show is into my brain. So for me, it's Spider-Man, and it's not particularly close, just because, along with like the live-action X-Men films of the mid-2000s,
yeah,
without them, I don't even give a fuck about the MCU.
I mean, I'm okay allowing Spider-Man to win because it's like have kind of even feel for both. I lean towards Star Wars, but I'm not against Spider-Man.
Yeah.
We'll see.
How well it is aged.
I mean,
Bad Batch hasn't.
It hasn't had time to age.
Yeah, it's just a baby.
It is just a baby, but And I know it's how well it has aged. I do predict it will age very well.
It will, for a fact, age very well, purely because it's solving so many plot holes.
Yes. Spider-Man, I don't think has aged badly. It's animated. Like, animated stuff generally doesn't, and...
For a children's cartoon from the 90s, and back when this was coming out, superhero stuff was just for kids. They
Yeah.
didn't think about how it would appeal to teenagers or adults. So for it to still not be complete cringe looking back on is pretty impressive, I think.
Yeah, and I would even say that this art style of it doesn't even feel like a dated cartoon. Like, it just feels like, yeah, it's cartoon.
It's standard. It's nothing
Yeah.
flashy.
And it's
You
not...
look at it and you go, "This was made for children," but you don't find that like, "Oh, it was just made for kids. I'm skipping it."
Yeah, you don't look at it and go, "God, some of this was a bit jank." You
Yeah,
just go, "Oh yeah, it's good. It's cartoon. Yeah,
it's
solid."
Spider-Man.
Yeah. So I would say, I mean, you can't really give it to the Bad Batch. It hasn't had chance to age.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's pretty simple, that one. Rewatchability.
Rewatchability. I
Yeah.
have already watched the first couple. Rewatched the first couple episodes of Bad Batch because I rewatched them when we were getting ready for season 2 of the
Yes,
Bad
you did.
Batch. And it was just as much fun. Um, However, I will occasionally, when I'm feeling a little bit sad, rewatch old Spider-Man episodes because I'm like, yes, childhood memories. Release some of that little bit of dopamine. I'll take it, thanks.
I think purely because I didn't really watch it much as a kid, I'd lean more to Bad Batch.
As a
Not that,
general rule, you are always more likely to rewatch a Star Wars thing.
yeah. The thing
You've
is, though, it's
rewatched
like,
Rebels while we've been doing this podcast and not watched one episode of The Boys.
I haven't rewatched Rebels.
Yeah, you have.
Nah.
Yeah.
When? What?
Right near the beginning of when we started the podcast, you were rewatching Rebels.
Oh, that was right near the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah, it was.
God, okay, it was a while ago. My memory has faded.
That's like 18 months ago for a
That's
show
a
that's
what?
like
That's a
6 years
yeah. No.
old.
Oh no, yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like, I do always lean Star Wars, and while Bad Batch might not be the first Star Wars thing that I would watch, I'd happily would rewatch it. So, yeah.
Um, Story.
Story.
Um, I mean, Bad Batch is solid top to bottom. It's
Yeah, and it's
compelling.
fixing plot holes.
Yeah, it is filling gaps in Star Wars lore, fixing plot holes, and showing us the beginning of the Empire, which we've not seen much of.
No, we haven't. It is an era that we've not got to see. As you say, it's fixing plot holes.
Yeah,
It's a solid
it's
story.
it's got it's compelling. It's got good characters. What's not to like? Is it groundbreaking? Are you sitting there with your jaw on the floor because the script and the everything is so phenomenal? No, of course you're not. It's Star Wars. Let's temper expectations. But at no point are you going, "Oh, this is a bit dross." It is.
No, it has. It has its moments, like the end of season 2,
Yeah,
like that really pull. And as all the anime stuff, it has the odd episode that hits the heartstrings and hits
yeah.
some great storytelling.
But I don't think from a Star Wars show, you have, like especially the animated ones, just because you're limited a bit more. I don't think you're ever going to get like a 10 out of 10 episode in the grand scheme of everything. But you know, every single week you're rocking up to somewhere between a 6 and an 8, and I will take that consistency.
Yeah, there's only rare, like the finale of Clone Wars animated maybe was like close to 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
But like it's yeah, you're right. With animated, you are only getting so far.
yeah.
Spider-Man,
For the time, I think it's unreal.
yeah. I
Bearing
mean,
in
they're
mind, like I
solid
said,
story. Like, it's just,
bearing in mind it's being directed towards a child,
yeah.
and this is what we've got to remember when you look at animation now in the mediums we enjoy versus in the 90s. In the 90s, they didn't view it as any adults are going to watch less.
Yeah.
So they were trying to just tell kiddified stories.
Yeah.
Whereas now they're like, we need to cater to young adults all the way up to people who've loved this franchise for 20 years. And bearing in mind that, I think Spider-Man does a really good job. I don't think you can criticize it for anything. I don't think the writing is as tight as Star Wars, but I think it is more impressive when you consider what they were aiming for, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, it's different scopes, right? Bad Batch is slotting into a huge universe and a huge story, and they're fixing plot holes in that bigger story. Spider-Man's just, it's essentially telling comics, the short stints of stories, and it's like, yeah, they're all.
See, I get that, but I do have one counterpoint to the short stories.
Go on.
We did also have like the multiverse story they did.
Oh no, yeah, no, I know there's like
the
longer
Web
running
of
stuff as well.
Destiny and Madam Web, and it was like a 4-parter, and you had like him with his tarantula arms and all the different Spider-Men. Like that was crazy good.
Oh yeah, no, there's definitely those bigger stories there. It's kind of just like they both do a great job at what they meant to be. It's I obviously I'm going to lean Star Wars.
Yeah.
Bigger scope.
Acting.
I mean, voice acting's great in both.
Yeah. Star Wars is good. No better or worse than any other Star Wars show, though.
Yeah.
I don't think you can look at Rebels, Clone Wars, or Bad Batch and go, oh, the voice acting in that one is worse. I think they're all pretty even.
Yeah, it's just like which has a specific actor that maybe
You
like
prefer.
the actor that plays Maul and stuff.
Yeah, Sam
like
Wither.
Yeah, like those performances hit a little harder because you're like, oh yeah. But other than that, yeah,
voice itches a bit of my brain.
But yeah, it's like other than that, it's all great, kind of like a standard great, like it's what you expect from.
Ironically, although this is completely off topic, I've just watched the episode that convinced me to watch Rebels. So I've seen the clip of Obi-Wan fighting Maul for the last time 1,000,001 times, with Sam Wither talking through it, and how like Obi-Wan changes from like the Ewan McGregor pose to the Alec Guinness pose to the Qui-Gon Jinn pose.
Yep.
And like I saw that and I was like, oh, that is peak Star Wars right there. And I finally got up to that episode. And even though like what happens has been spoiled for me for about 6 years, I finally got there and I'm like, oh yeah, that's Star Wars, baby. But yeah, anyway. The acting in Spider-Man, very 90s.
Well, yeah.
It is still completely acceptable, which is crazy surprising to me. And yeah, it feels quite cheesy now, but it doesn't feel as cheesy as I was expecting.
Well, that goes back to how well it's aged, right?
Yeah, I flicked back through like a couple of episodes just to see if I was like really suffering from nostalgia and like rose tinted glasses.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, the voice acting is a bit weird because obviously the setups weren't as good back then.
Well, yeah, the quality.
And like the recording would have been different. It's probably been formatted and compressed and decompressed and all this shit 1,000,001 times.
You've also got to remember like the TV quality that was being shown on as well, like the audio quality. Like they weren't on like 100 quid headphones and stuff. Like, yeah.
Exactly. But it's still like pretty solid. Again, when you consider the fact it was made for kids, so they probably weren't that worried about it being top tier voice
an Oscar
acting.
performance or anything.
Yeah, they were probably going, yeah, one take's fine, we'll make it work.
Yeah.
Cinematography. I mean, Star Wars animation, don't miss. It's clean.
Yeah, and like so they use a lot of film shot techniques in their way they do their animated stuff.
You make it feel more alive.
Yeah. And I mean, with Bad Batch,
they don't just draw it in the same way that an animated show would normally be drawn or like rendered. They do fully render it like they've got a proper set shot. Like it's one of the few animated shows I've ever watched where it does feel like there is a director.
Yeah, and it's like I think to like season 2, some of those episodes visually were stunning with the different worlds they went to and stuff. Like they always 100%. Star Wars always plays into that. Like it has great visuals.
Yeah.
I mean, animated Spider-Man. It's standard animation show.
Yeah, it's what every animated show in the 90s looked like. Yeah, it was well done because it was nice and bright. Green Goblin was nice and green. Doc Ock was bright. Spider-Man was bright. It was. I'm a child. I like the big moving colors. 100%. Guess what? I'm still a big child. I still love the big moving colors. I don't think I can, in good conscience, say that it's better animated than Bad Batch. But
Bad Batch is
not
multiplayer.
poorly animated.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't say no.
And I do think it was actually hand drawn back then as well, which
most likely, yeah.
Which I highly doubt Bad Batch was hand drawn.
Oh no. That's an army of people on computers doing that.
As much as it feels dirty, I'm voting for Spider-Man because I physically can't be voting against it to just Bad Batch. No offense, Bad Batch.
I think this is because we had personal relevance, which was like, I'm kind of even. Aged obviously goes Spider-Man. Rewatchability, probably more Bad Batch. So I'm like, what? Half 1-1, probably 2. I feel like I lean Star Wars.
Yeah.
Which is why I thought it was going to happen.
Yeah.
You're Spider-Man, I'm Star Wars.
And this is why this podcast is so well balanced, because I keep us up to date on the superhero stuff, and you've got us covered on Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. We're fine.
And all the visual things.
Yes.
I guess we need to put someone forward, though.
I'm not budging.
I was going to say, you're not going to budge.
Not a chance. I love Bad Batch. It's just too new. I think if Bad Batch was like 3 or 4 years older, you might have a chance of making me budge. But the fact that I know there's another season coming, I have in my head reasonable doubt that it could fall off a cliff.
Here's my thought process right now is, like you, Bad Batch is new. But then it's like, I think to realistically, out of like all the Star Wars animated stuff, Bad Batch isn't in my top. It's by far the final seasons of Clone Wars. And it's like, do I really hold Bad Batch that highly on my, like I said, it wouldn't be the first thing I go to rewatch and stuff. So it's like, really, I feel in this case, I'm okay with saying Spider-Man can win because it like you say, it's just Bad Batch. It's not prime animated Star Wars or peak stuff. So
if it was Clone Wars, you'd definitely be able to get me to
if it was Clone Wars and if it was potentially Rebels, because
once I finish Rebels, I reckon you'd be able to get me to budge on Rebels. I'm not budging for Bad Batch.
I can I feel that's valid. I feel that is valid.
You're not giving me, I mean, I think rightly so, the third best Star Wars animated show and telling me it's better than peak Spider-Man animated shows.
I think that's the way we need to look at this.
We're not doing that on the podcast.
Although I have a love for Bad Batch and everything Star Wars, like at the end of the day, it is the third best, and it's like, well, okay, there's your answer.
Yeah. There is a goddamn reason for that.
Yeah. Okay, I'm fine with Star Wars going forward. Not Star Wars, Spider-Man.
Nice try.
Can you imagine if that worked and you go, yeah, okay, I'm like, haha, got him.
Bamboozle, Nat 20. See, D&D lingo, I'm learning.
Please.
Spider-Man animated series.